an alien encounter that a Dr. Jonathan Reed had in Washington now a couple of years ago. The most astounding story you've ever heard. It is one of the most interesting alien encounter stories in years and years, and we have significant amounts of documentary evidence in the form of Kodak 35 millimeter photographs. I have those personally. I have scanned them. And I also have a videotape from which I've taken a little bit of audio, not of the alien scream. I'm going to have the doctor cue that one up again. I only had a limited amount of time today. All right, Dr. Reed, let us begin. Set the stage. When was this exactly?
It took place in mid-October of 1996. In Washington State, in the Cascade Mountain Range, about 60 miles east of Seattle.
Okay.
I was hiking with my dog, that day hike, and I had a golden retriever, Susie, and we just decided to take the day off and, go for a beautiful hike. We have wonderful mountains and great places to take your dog. After walking for about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes from where I had left my car, my dog started to take off, which she did occasionally, either chasing a deer or raccoon or something. And I didn't think too much of that until I started to hear her barking. And her bark got continually louder and more like she was in danger or had treed an animal or something like that. She was out of sight. She was probably maybe 300 feet or so in front of me. And it was an uphill trail, quite heavy brush. And I lost total sight of her, but I was concerned after hearing the barking get more severe. So I set my pack down and I thought, maybe it could be a cat or a bear, because we do have bear in the area. And I thought, well, maybe I'll pick up a branch and, see if I can untangle whatever this is. And so I started to come up around the ridge, and as I came across the ridge, I witnessed my dog grabbing onto the arm of this creature. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was totally blown away, but I could see that the dog not only had a hold of this thing, but this thing had a hold of my dog. And within a matter of seconds, it was literally tearing my dog apart. Almost like the hide and the skin was being torn right off of the bone.
At that moment, as you were watching that scene, did you then see the obelisk hovering in the air, or did you only see that later?
I only saw that later. It was probably 45 minutes to an hour later after this other situation had taken place.
Okay. At this point, you're aware your dog is dying or dead.
Yes.
You've got a branch of some kind in your hand?
Yeah, I had picked up a branch that was alongside the road about the size of a baseball bat.
You obviously advanced toward and hit this alien over the head. Did you do that sort of without thinking, or, what went through your mind? Here was your dog being killed in a horrible way, and you were going to approach this thing that was doing that.
This total event took place in maybe 15 seconds, which seems quick in one sense, but it seemed like an eternity in another. The last thing that I really consciously remember was yelling at Susie to let go, because I was under the impression that she was grabbing this creature. As I was watching, it also grabbed her. The last thing that I said was, "Susie, let go." And there was nothing. There was nothing but this fury of this shaking, pulsating being. At that moment, I think I just became emotionally unconscious of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I leaped forward and swung this makeshift bat and hit it on the side of the head.
This is the theater of the mind here on radio, so we're going to have you explain, if you can, Doctor, what this creature that killed your dog looks like.
Well, this entity was approximately 4.5 feet tall. I later measured it at 53 inches exactly. It was very small in dimension, childlike, except for its head. Its head seemed a little out of proportion to the small body size. When I say childlike, I mean approximately the proportion of maybe a 5 or 6 year old child. Maybe the appendages, the arms and legs, a little bit longer, but very thin torso. It was completely dark clothed in a type of tight-fitting, almost spandex-looking material that the gloves the hands, the arms, the torso, the body, the legs, and the feet were completely enwrapped in one thing.
And that is in the photographs. A lot of people have asked about that black, whatever it is, the alien appears to be wearing. Anyway, you whacked this thing over the head.
Yes.
Did you come running up to it and just whack it suddenly? I mean,
I literally leaped forward to hit at it. And in fact, I'm surprised I even hit it. I'm not an athlete, but I weigh about 190 pounds and I'm 5'10", so I had a pretty good size difference on this thing.
All right, you were on that scene for a total of 3 hours.
Yeah, I think it was just under 3 hours.
Just under 3 hours. During that period of time, you eventually noticed something hovering in the air nearby.
About an hour after my dog had found the being, I had been sick. I had been practically out of my mind, not knowing what to do. Almost couldn't stand at times, and then regained a little bit of composure. And it seemed for a long time like everything had stopped, like the air had gone dead. And for some reason, all of a sudden, I felt like I could hear a sound. And I thought, maybe it's another camper, or maybe it's another hiker. And I thought, maybe I can get some help, because I needed help. And I kind of ran up the path about 30 feet, and I listened, and I couldn't hear anything, but I almost could feel a humming type of sound, almost like when you feel static electricity against the hair on your arm or the back of your neck.
Sure.
And I tried to listen close enough to where it was coming from, but I couldn't determine where it was coming from. It was so subtle. And I ran the other way down, back toward where I had dropped my backpack, maybe another 60, 70 feet. And I couldn't hear it at that point. And I thought, well, it's gone. Maybe they're moving away from me, or, maybe it was in my mind. And all of a sudden, I turned around, and through the brush, probably some 150 feet from where I was standing, I could see the outline of a black shape. And at first, I thought, well, what is that? Is it a tent? Is it, I didn't know what I was looking at.
When I first got the photographs, Doctor, I thought it was a ship. And obviously the vehicle, the creature landed in. But as you look at the foliage attendant there, you get a scale, and it didn't look big enough to bring that creature, small as it was. It might have, but it didn't look like that.
I don't think it was a ship as we think of these things. I think it was something else. It was, in its dimensions, it was approximately 9 feet long, about 2 3/4 feet high, and about 3.5 to 4 feet wide. It had 6 sides, 6 definite dimensional triangles. It was made of some type of material that felt like granite or some kind of stone. But it was shiny, and it looked like almost a pool of water, the surface, with some kind of fiber in amongst, this depth.